Guten Chodesh and a Guten Yontif, Alaman. I was asked to speak in English, but so I can't help it. And I made some notes because I'm going to go into some dates that I want to make sure that I'm not mistaken. The truth is to be told, I don't know where to start. Rosh Chodesh Kislev was the good end of everything. But what led to Rosh Chodesh Kislev was not so happy. So I decided that I'll tell the story mitchilosei, as far as I can see. Those who know things know, and there are many who don't know. I understand many people are watching on television. So I'm going to start from Hoshana Rabbah. When I came to the Rebbe's house early morning, Hoshana Rabbah, before the davening, to go with him to 770, I noticed while he was walking to the car that he was pale, more pale than usual. He got into the car, and we drove to 770. And I'm thinking, what can I do? I couldn't ask the Rebbe how you feel. I never did that. That wasn't for me. That wasn't my mosquito's job. But I noticed that something was wrong. The Rebbe went into his office. He came down to davening. After davening, people were waiting in lines around the block for lekach. Hoshana Rabbah was a big day for lekach. We came for the last days of Yom Tov, Sheminat Atzeres, Simchas Torah. He went home late in the afternoon for about 15 or 20 minutes and came right back. It wasn't time to eat anything. Certainly something for what he's gone through from that day itself. And when you realize, and I had discussions with the Rebbe about this many times, she was concerned for Elul and Tishrei, the pressures that the Orchim, that the Rebbe loved to see, but the Farbrengens, Sukkot, every night there was the Shpiz, and every night there was a Sicha, in the Yom Tevim, there was Yechidus and strains on the Rebbe that she recognized as something that she should be concerned about, and she sure was right. Then what happened, middle of the Hakofis, that night, Sheminat Atzeres, was either Hakofah Daled or Hey. Suddenly I was standing close to the Rebbe, and as pale as he was in the morning, he was much paler. Obviously something was troubling him. I also know that during the day there was something going on that he was troubled by. I won't talk about it now. So it was a very difficult time for a person of the age of the Rebbe. So strained, unslept, and involved every second, every waking second. And he put his hand on the chair. He asked somebody nearby to push the chair around. He should be able to sit down. He sat down in the middle of Hakofis. Well, you don't need more of an alarm than that. And the main part of the alarm was he didn't know what was happening. Nobody knew what was happening. But the Rebbe insisted in finishing the Hakofis, the 6th and the 7th, he went with Rashag, like the minig the Rebbe was, went up to the Bimin, went with Hakofis, with the Sefer Torah, and as if nothing had happened, but his color wasn't good. Came back to his mokim near there in Kodesh, and after the two Hakofis, and said Aleinu, and went upstairs to his office. When he came to his office, there's some doctors came for Chassidish doctors that came for Yom Tov, and they were aware of what was happening. And after the Rebbe entered the room, his Heichel, they went in, and they asked him, how does he feel? He was sitting in a chair, and he wasn't looking good, and he didn't respond. And they said to him, maybe the Rebbe should drink something or eat something. He didn't eat the whole day. I'm a witness to that. And on top of all the pressures, physical and spiritual. And he says, so after a while, the Rebbe got up, went into the sukkah, made Kiddush, and just before he made Kiddush, the Rebbetzin came walking from President Street. Somebody went to alert her, and she came, so she heard Kiddush from the Rebbe. In Mezitz, there's a doctor by the name of Bob Richter, who was the husband of Gladys Richter. Gladys Richter is an enkel von Mendel Kunin. When the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America in Tov Shin, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 1917, 19 he lived in a hotel for some time, the Greystone Hotel. It's right near Harlem. And Mendel Kunin lived near the hotel, so he became very, very, very close to the Rebbe. So his Einikel married Bob Richter. And he was the chief surgeon in the Jewish Hospital of Brooklyn that used to exist. It's about a 10-minute walk from 770 in Prospect Place between Classen and Franklin Avenue, those who know the topography of Crown Heights. And he went to the hospital, and he got hold of a cardiograph and some other things that he needed for the Rebbe, some equipment. I don't think he had any pharmaceuticals. It was at night, and probably the pharmacy was closed. And he brought the 770, and he did with the cardiograph to check the Rebbe's heart. He hooked up everything and had scanners to see, you could see exactly what was happening. And it wasn't good at all. It wasn't good at all. Far from good. And he was frightened. And he didn't know what to do. He suggested to the Rebbe, maybe the Rebbe should go to the hospital. And the Rebbe said, "Oh no, he's not going to a hospital. If he can be treated, he'll be treated right here in his room." So we're sitting around knowing nothing what to do. No doctor that knew what was really wrong and the extent of it. And mezitzt. In the course of the next 2 hours, 4 doctors were called, one from Brooklyn, one from Long Island, 2 from Manhattan, cardiac specialists, heart specialists. They all came, one after the other, didn't meet each other, strangely enough. Between 8 and 10 or 10:30, at night. Each one said the same thing, is it's a very serious heart condition, and he must go to the hospital, and he must go immediately. And to each one, the Rebbe said he's not going to a hospital. And they all went away. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, the Zegedreit, and it keeps on ticking, and there's no doctor, and nobody knows what to do. Some people fell asleep. I couldn't. Around 6 o'clock in the morning, I was in the Gan Eden Tachten with some of the doctors who were still up. And the Rebbe comes walking down from the second floor, or the third floor. I don't know if she's up by her sister or by where her mother used to live. And she's very cool, and she says, what's happening? So the doctors told her that the situation is very, very dire, and all the suggestions so far is she should be taken to the hospital. So we're planning to sedate the Rebbe and take him to the hospital against his will. And the Rebbe in such coolness, you have to realize that's all she had in the world. Had no children. And the Rebbe, it's the Rebbe, to her and to the world. And she knows exactly what the situation is. So coolly and so calmly tells them, and what does my husband say? And they said, your husband doesn't want to go to a hospital, and he insists on it. And she said, all my life that I know my husband, never for an instant was he never in total control of himself. I cannot allow you to do that. Now imagine the situation. An elderly woman, frail to an extent, having all she has in this world at stake, and she realizes the responsibility of what it means to Yiddishkeit, going to Mashiach, and she so much respect she had for her husband, more than just a wife. She was correct, and the Rebbe did not go to the hospital. I walked away into the Merkaz office, the Maskida's office, and I hear she's walking after me. So I turned around, she was standing there, and she says to me, Rabbi Krisnky, ihr kennt doch sehr viele Menschen. Ihr kennt nicht gefunden, a Doktor von meinem Mann? A doctor for my man. And when she said that, I was hit by a Baruch Maverick. A few months before, I was in the Rebbe's office, and on his desk there was a book that a Dr. Ira Weiss from Chicago wrote, all about arrhythmias, different graphs of heart arrhythmias that need to be helped. So I said to myself, it was mamish an S. I mean, I just don't know how it happened. And Dr. Weiss, Ira Weiss, I knew from before. He was from Chicago, as you know. And he was sort of a Talmud, very, very close to my shwager Herschel Shustem and my sister Chava from his bar mitzvah time. His parents were not frum, but he was frum as a youngster by himself. That's because of the hashpah the Shustemans had on him. Very edel. I knew he was a Harvard grad. Must be good. So I wanted to call him up. He should come to New York as fast as he can. But I didn't have his phone number. I wasn't that close to him at that time. So I called my brother-in-law. And he didn't pick up the phone. It's Yontif. I let it ring 15 times, 20 times, once, and then I did a few times. But weißt du es, and he picked up the telephone. I told him what happened. And I need Ira Weiss to come to New York as fast as he can get here. He gave me his number. I called Ira, woke him up in the morning. And he was a Shemesh Shabbos and Yontif. And I told him exactly what happened. And what does the Rebbe say? He doesn't want to go. The first thing he said to me, if the Rebbe doesn't want to go to the hospital, do not take him. It'll harm him, won't improve anything. So I saw the Rebbe said, can you hear me after all this? Did you hear me till now? I'm sorry. It's better? Okay, I'm sorry. You have to tell me. I don't hear. I'm standing over here. This was a shine of light. So I told Ira the situation. He says, I have to go to the bank to get money to buy a plane ticket. I'll get on the first plane I can to New York, but it'll take me 5-6 hours at least to get there. Call Dr. Louis Tischoltz. He's one of his Talmud. He was a Talmud Chover in Harvard of Louis Tischoltz. They both studied under Dr. Bernard Lown. I'll talk about a little bit more later. Bernard Lown was the master of cardiology, the head of the whole cardiology department in Harvard University. In those days, that was the Mizal Shdafen. And I called Louis Tischoltz. I never spoke to him before, but he's not a Babish Chassid. He's head of cardiology at Mount Sinai Hospital in Uptown Manhattan. And he had very much respect. And he said, I'll get there as fast as I can. And we got him a police escort to get him here faster. He arrived about 10:30. And examined the Rebbe. He knew exactly what was going on. He brought some pharmaceuticals with him that he thought he might need, so we're already in the road, the right road. Ira showed up at about 1:30. We all got him a police escort to get to 770 as fast as possible. And by 1 or 2 o'clock, there was a whole different atmosphere. The Rebbe had the best medical help he could have. He had whatever he needed. Everybody was baruyakt. It was still a critical situation, but it was not hefker, which it was before. Now, I want to make sure I'm not skipping anything that I wanted to say. Yeah. So days went by, and Yontif was over in 2 days, and then Ira Weiss had to go back to his practice in Chicago, and I asked Ira, please stay another day. And he decided to stay. He stayed the next day and the next day for 2.5 weeks. He didn't go home. He didn't leave the Rebbe's room. He lost his practice. And he couldn't care less. And literally, he nursed the Rebbe back to health. Somewhere in that time, Dr. Resnick came along, and he was also totally dedicated to the Rebbe's progress. I can just say this, before I go much further, that Ira Weiss ultimately went home, and every single day, till we lost the Rebbetzin, every single night he called the Rebbe's house, spoke to the Rebbetzin how they are, the Rebbe and the Rebbe, every single night, for years. This is the kind of gentleman he was. By the way, I'm going to ask you for a favor. I spoke to Ira a few days ago. He had some serious surgery a few days ago, and I want you all to say, Amen. Yitzchak Zev Halevi, Ben Zelda. Sagt Amen. Refuah Shalema, Kreva. They started moving. Something very strange happened during the few weeks of the Rebbe, that before the Rebbe came home. But in 1972, Simcha Zerkin, Olav Shalom from Montreal, came to me. Ubiyadei, a roll of microfilm. Microfilm, if you don't know what it is, it's very small letters, usually in a small row. And where he got it from, he didn't tell me at first. But we had just bought a microfilm apparatus for the library. And I said, I'll put it on and we'll see. I didn't do it right away. The next day I put it on, and it was Kisviyat Kaddish from some of the Arabim. I said, Simcha, where did you get this? He was reluctant to tell me, I don't know why, but after he told me. He was visiting in the National Library of Ottawa, the capital of Canada. And somebody asked him if he can find out what this is. It was listed in their catalog as anonymous. I had no idea what it was. I told them what it was. So what happened was, where did they get it from? They got it, there was a swap, just like art and antiques, people change them for exhibitions and things like that, and they make money on it just for the exhibit, and they retain the chayfetz. There was a swap with the Jewish what was it called? The Jewish History Museum in Warsaw, Poland. So we sent somebody to Warsaw, Poland, to look at the library. A Jewish Institute, Warsaw Jewish Institute. And lo and behold, there was much more there, and other things that belonged to the library that were not the Rebbe's library, not Kisviyat Kaddish. When the Rebbe left Europe in Tovshin, to Riga and all there was wanderings that he had, much of the things he couldn't carry with him. I'm told that when they went from Riga to Sweden to take the Dronninghome ship to America, they had to leave a lot of things on the wharf. It was one propeller plane for 11 people, and it was foggy. Listen, Dr. Mendel was he told me this. He named all the 11 people who were on the plane, not the Rebbe and the Rebbe, and they, of course, didn't come with the Frierdiker Rebbe. So they made it miraculously through the foggy night, but a lot of the things were left. Nobody knows where they were. This is probably something from that baggage that was. Thank God it was saved to whatever extent it was saved. So I heard about it, and the Rebbe knew. This was in 1972. I told the Rebbe about it, and I asked him how we should try to get it back. If we should go through the United States Department of State or some other way. And he says that's the best way to go, to the State Department. So I went to Washington, many trips with Rebbe Shem Tov, and we went to the Polish desk. We went to all kinds of possibilities. And in 1977, the Polish government finally said that we'll send it to you under one condition, that when you get it, you'll put 3 ads in the largest 3 newspapers in America, the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times, praising the government of Poland for being so considerate and all the, whole pages. And we did it gladly. And when the books came to America in 5 big wooden crates, huge crates, while the Rebbe was in his room and he couldn't go out. So I told the Rebbe that came, and I asked him if he wants me to bring in some Hanim Malyasa. The Rebbe said no, but the first thing I'll do when I'm able to go out, put the things out in the library next door, in tables. I'll go into the library and spend some time there. So fast forward to that kufa. There were some other interesting things I'll just tell you, like from a catalog. The Rebbe heard Kriyas HaTorah in his room until Tesvav Macheshvan, which was a Thursday. That was the first time the Rebbe went out into the shul. And upstairs, yeah. From his office, was just over the hall. So what happened was when the Rebbe came out to the shul, my shver was there. He had just come home from the hospital. I had written to the Rebbe about him for bracha. So the Rebbe took out time to ask me, what's about the shver? So he said, Baruch Hashem is okay. And I said something else to the Rebbe that I didn't transcribe. And the Rebbe, Sochak b'chazoka. He laughed loud. So In any case, what happened was that on Sunday, it became known that tomorrow, Monday, the Rebbe is going to go into the library. Tomorrow, on Monday. But there was a big rain. It was nitche. In Chav Ches Macheshvan, the day before Erev Kislev, the Rebbe went into the library. He sat on my desk when I made share. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. And he went in 2:40 in the afternoon and sat there till 3:50. 70 minutes he sat there. And then he said that when he was going in, he said, Mizman, Mizman, of course, after that, he was there, Shabbosim and Yom Tevim. So he could do whatever he wanted. It was open to him. On Chav Tes, the day before Rosh Chodesh Kislev, he was going to go into the library. This was a Thursday, I think. 1 second. He was going to go in that day, but he didn't go in. But the point I want to make is that he did go in Chav Ches. So the first time that Rebbe went out was not to the house, but to the library. And 2 days later was Rosh Chodesh. He went home, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, 7:40 in the evening. And the doctors told me to stop the car about 3 houses away from the house, so the Rebbe can walk absolutely in fresh air. I think Dr. Resnick was there, and I think Label Groner walked with the Rebbe to the house. I waited in the car, and everything was just fine. Something happened a few weeks later. It's a cute story, so I'll conclude with that. One afternoon, about a month or 2 later, I took the Rebbe home in the afternoon, around 4:30, and the Rebbe got out of the car, and I saw there was a box near the door, a big box, and you have to move the box to open the door. So I wasn't going to let that; it was too fresh. So I ran up past the Rebbe, and I bent down to pick up the box. The box had 2 handles from either side. It was a fruit delivery. And I wanted to pick up the box. The Rebbe said, no. He said to me, Ich will dir helfen. So he came walking into the house, and the Rebbe was in the kitchen, and she called out the Rebbe's name. She didn't know that I was there. And she came in, we saw her standing there, both of us, holding the box of fruit. She never stopped laughing.